see this good crowd here with us this evening. We will stand for the invocation, which will be the Lord's Prayer, and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord's Prayer all together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The minutes is in the packet. Have you had a chance to read those over? Hope so. Do I hear a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? If not, in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carries. The recorder has a report for payments in February. Jessica?
In the general fund, we have, through WEX bill billing, we're under a new contract with them, which Sonia worked on negotiation for that. Basically, we still have no fees, but it's under the pricing that they give Metro Nashville, so that's the contract that we're under. Fuel for that month was $11,152.97. That was in January, paid in February. Further down, $5,000 of the annual appropriation to Boys and Girls Club of the Ocoee region. That's their complete amount from the budget, made in one installment. $53,307.28 to Cigna in Chattanooga. That's for the employee and employer portions on health insurance for the month. We also paid $6,960 to East Tennessee Security Solutions. That was for cameras at Engelman Park. We had done a bid for professional services on that, and then that was the actual payment for those. Page 2 in the general fund, $3,000 to Mitchell Emerton Hill, an audit payment. That was our final payment for last fiscal year, which they presented last month. Page 3, we made a payment for stormwater to Sweetwater Utilities Board, $9,256. We also made the final payment on the lift for United Elevator Services, $9,976 in February. On page 5, we made a payment for the new playground up at Engelman Park to Great Southern Recreation, $37,780, and that was the final payment on that project. And then a little further down, Trustmark National Bank, $4,015.44. That was an interest-only payment on one of our bonds, and we paid the principal in the other half of the year. There wasn't anything significant in State Street Aid. We did make one payment to Cannon & Cannon for $2,100. That was for engineering on the multimodal grant, which they say they're getting closer to have a design on. They're having to work with TDOT about the bridge reconstruction that's also going on South Main Street, Highway 11. That's going to connect into our multimodal, so they wanted to coordinate those two projects. You'll notice that some work is being done downtown right now. That is all a TDOT grant, and that's not funneled through the city at all. We don't have any payments affiliated with that. Nothing significant in the drug fund. In the tourism fund, February is when we paid out. Prior month I had told you the payments we made out for the mural, and I just wanted to show you where the mural reimbursement came in. You'll see it's in the debit column, but the tourism grant reimbursement, $5,490. That came from Tennessee Arts Commission on a grant for those murals downtown. Library fund is in there. If you all have any questions, we can direct those to Tanya. Home grant, we got our final reimbursement back on that, and as of today, the home is ready to move into. Thank God. $96,494.19. So we've already been reimbursed for that, and we're working with East Tennessee Development District on closing out that grant so we can then apply for another CDBG grant for the community center. In sanitation fund, to Waste Connections, we paid $22,949.70 out on the contract. We received in garbage fees of $25,367.25. Nothing significant in the ECD fund. Does anybody have any questions?
So, John, they did get the decks on the house.
Decks are on, the gutters are the only thing that they got to do to complete it, but those are gonna be Wednesday or Thursday. That, I spoke with the utility board just a few minutes ago. They're gonna get her water meter turned on tomorrow and flip her electric on, so she can start moving in.
She's ready to go.
She's ready. I just spoke to her right before I came in the meeting. They will need help. They will need movers. But, you know, we talked about that at one of the meetings, possibly, you know, some of the funds going for a moving company. Family members, I think, helped move her out of her home, but she said her brother can't, his knees just can't do it. So.
We paid a moving company to help her move out of the home, so
Okay.
we had already, there is still budget left that we had already appropriated to move her back in, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
let her know that too.
I did. I told her,
And special thanks to the police department, they went and got those, containers so that we didn't have to pay a monthly rental on pods, cause as long as this is taken to get constructed, the monthly rental on pods would have cost an arm and a leg, so thanks, police department for getting those containers and letting us use those for that project.
the only other thing that wasn't included in that, you know, we might want to consider it, and we talked about this, is just spreading some grass seed and some straw for her, because, you know, moving it in there, it's just a lot of dirt work, so there's no topsoil left, it's just, you know, red dirt, so grass seed and straw, and then maybe some gravel for her driveway that, you know, what they have to tear out.
Richard said he'd take care of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but I think that pretty much, that should finish it up.
Cause we talked to her up there and it
Yeah.
was a mess.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
appreciate that, Richard.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to, accept the distributions?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. A public hearing is now being opened on ordinance number 1017 to amend title 18. Is anyone here to comment on this ordinance? Ordinance number 1018 to amend the zoning map for the flea market property. Is anyone here present to make a comment on that? Okay. In old business, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 1017?
Make a motion to amend, ordinance 1017 as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Ordinance number 1018 to amend the zoning map for the flea market. Is anyone, well, I said that, didn't I? Roll call vote on 1017.
Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Mosher,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stokes.
Motion carries. In old business, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 1018?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 1018 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
If I ask a question, just for clarification, on the map that was attached with that, the part we're rezoning is the shaded area, correct? Or it's got lines across it?
The map attachment, yes, that's correct, the flea market portion.
Okay. All right.
Roll call vote.
Hang on just a second. Is it the entirety of parcel 31?
It should be the entire parcel. I don't have the map attachment in this packet that I have, though.
Yeah, I think the map attachment only shows part of it, so we may want to amend the map attachment, because the language says the entire parcel 31. And they're present, you all want the whole entire parcel rezoned, because you're gonna be
Correct.
storing things, you're gonna need the whole thing to be made.
See the map attachment? Are you sure it's not the whole?
I don't know. I mean, I can pull up the tax.
That's the parcel, that's it.
Just that shaded
The
area?
crosshatched, yeah, that's the whole thing.
It really looks like a parcel, is this one block? It's not, it's a weirdly shaped
I
parcel.
think so. I'll go double check, but I'm
Okay.
almost certain that, because it is a funky lot.
Okay.
think what you're seeing there is just the different lines of counties, but I'll double check.
Do you wanna come back to that then?
You can.
So it's just the hatched area, not the area in pink.
Well, that's what the map attachment shows. We're
Yes.
making sure that the hatched area is all of parcel 31.
I think it's a city.
Yes. That's
Probably
what,
is.
so I think, as you.
We have a
stated
different
in your
person doing the
question-
maps now. The development district does the maps now. It used to be the county planner, so that's a little bit of a, it may look a little different than what it used to, so.
Unless you all wanna purchase down Murray's Chapel Road. Really expand.
Have you got everybody out?
They did.
Yeah, okay. Jessica has a update on the T-Dot Railroad improvement grant we've been working on.
Back
Or
around
just
to
do
it.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll come back.
Teresa is here with TDOT. Thank you, Teresa. We did, last meeting, y'all might remember, we discussed that we were gonna check and see if there was any local contractors that were TDOT pre-approved. There were not at the time. We did call Cody Phillips with Spectrum Electric. He has been on the TDOT pre-approved list before. He just didn't have any jobs that required it right now, so he wasn't on it. He was willing to get back on it in order to do this project for us. So as of Friday, they were now on the TDOT pre-qualified list. So we can use Cody to do the electrical portion, which is the lighting at the back of the parking lot. And Teresa has been working on soliciting bids for the remaining striping and the signage, so I'll turn it over to Teresa to give you an update on that.
I hope everybody can hear me okay from here. It'd be a little easier to be able to look at my computer. I did solicit bids from 5 contractors. I had 2 that did not return any estimates, and therefore I would assume are not interested. I did receive 3 estimates. We received estimates for pavement marking only from Superior Pavement Marking. For the 3 locations, their total was $34,978, which would require a 3rd contractor for signing. Superior Traffic Control is a completely different company, even though the names are almost exactly the same, and they do just signs. Their estimate was $12,305. So if we were to select Superior Pavement Marking plus Superior Traffic Control, their total would be $47,283. We received a 3rd estimate from Volunteer Highway Supply. They are interested in doing both signing and pavement marking. Their estimate for all 3 locations is $39,517, which is significantly less than the 2 Superior companies combined. My recommendation would be to select Volunteer Highway Supply.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes, sir, you do.
And if you want, I mean, I don't know, John, you may say we need to take this as 2 separate motions, but we can also approve that Cody will be the person that we award the job to and let him get us a quote, or you all can wait until he brings a quote in and then approve it, so.
And either way is okay with us.
Okay, do I hear a motion to let Cody, he's qualified to do the work now, to approve him to do the work? Would that be appropriate to say? Hear a motion?
Just one more question. Is it Teresa?
Yes.
Is there a deadline that this has to be approved
No,
by?
there is not.
Okay.
We have a contract on the project, and I feel like that contract goes through like November maybe.
Our original our original request for bids required the contract to be completed by the end of November. That's not a thing that's set in stone according to TDOT. That was more to give the contractor some kind of stop date so that they don't belabor the point trying to stripe a little here and there when they're not busy. We want them to get in, do the project, send us bill, get out, close the contract out and not drag things out.
I was
Why
just
don't
gonna,
we just-
I was just gonna say, if we have time, let Cody, reapply, get confirmed, and then we'll package
Yeah, we got time.
the two together.
We can wait till next month, that won't be no problem, will it?
No, sir.
So we'll put it on the agenda for next
But
month.
my assumption is volunteer can do the work and they're the low bid.
Yes,
Move
volunteer can do the work. They are TDOT pre-qualified. We have worked with them, with other governing bodies in the past, and with TDOT contracts. They're available, and they have a good grasp on the timeline that we'd like for them to adhere to.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you, Teresa.
Yes, sir.
We have a 5-year capital improvement plan for action. Does anyone have anything that they want to change about the plan at the time? Any changes?
Good to go.
Okay. Okay, let's go back to the ordinance number 1018 that we discussed. What did we find out about that?
We had a motion and a second, and John did verify it is the entire parcel of 31. It's just an oddly shaped parcel, but we're doing that one parcel in its entirety.
The crosshatch section on that map attachment should be the entire parcel.
Okay, here a motion.
We've got a motion and a
Got
second.
a motion, second, roll call.
Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Mosier,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stutz.
Motion carries. In new business, we have an update on schedule of fees. I'm not sure exactly, did we go over this in the workshop?
No, because this issue didn't come up. It's come up since the workshop. So
But we're talking about the mulch.
the mulch, yeah, that's the only change, and I put an updated schedule of fees in your packet, and it's highlighted the only wording that's changing. Basically, we've got too much mulch at the dump. It is kind of a fire hazard. John is somewhat concerned about it. They've had to kind of do some things to keep it from smoldering. So we wanted to add a provision that if someone would take that mulch in bulk, that we were allowed to let them have it. We always let any citizen who wants come to the dump and get mulch, but we've never delivered it to anyone before. So that's why we put in here that we would deliver it if they were requesting more than 100 truckloads. And that is still up to the street department to decide whether to deliver it or not, and it would have to be contingent on them having enough time to be able to deliver it and the manpower to do it. We are not gonna do this as a delivery service for someone that needs one load of mulch at their house. This is a way for us to mitigate that fire hazard that mulch creates. So that's in there. It's not a charge for it if it's over 100 loads, which kind of sounds counterintuitive, but the point is to get rid of the stuff that we can. Richard spoke with the guy that does the chipping for us on contract, and he thinks that he is probably willing to haul some of this. And we've had a citizen say they can take 300 loads. They're starting a new, I guess it's like a vineyard. They're growing berries and trees and things, so they can take 300 loads. So that would be a great solution to the problem of having too much. So maybe we'll use it, but by adopting this schedule of fees, it's making it clear we're not gonna do this just because someone wants one load of mulch for their house, because that's all we get done, isn't it, Richard? We just deliver mulch to everybody all over town all the time, like we do gravel. So we wanna make it clear that's not what we're doing. This is just to mitigate the fire hazard. And so we're putting in the schedule of fees. That way there's a rule in place that's been voted on that says we're not gonna do this every day for everybody.
Any discussion on this? Any questions?
How many loads a day are getting dumped out there? On average?
There's probably 1,000 loads out there right now.
Yeah,
So, Richard,
that bunch of it, that's right.
what it does, it heats up, and it's done it twice, and they went out there with a loader and stirred it up and let it dry out. But a few weeks ago, you might remember all of Sweetwater was smoked up. That's what it was, that smoking.
And the statute guy's not in a rush to get it, so if y'all don't wanna vote on it yet tonight, we don't have to, we can table it. He's basically saying he'll take 300 loads every single year because of what he's doing.
When does he want to start loading?
I think he'd take it as soon as we had time to come bring it to him. He's planting and doing things now. that he'll
The
take.
guy that grinds it told me today, I talked to him, he said he got time, he would get it.
It's hard to get, the only problem with that is he's hard to get a hold of. Like, I mean, even when we need him to come grind it up, sometimes it takes him months after we call him to get here, so that's the only problem with that. We did also talk to the utility board who dumps their chips there. They are gonna take some loads directly to this gentleman also. I passed along his name and number to the utility board, so that should help keep some of it out of our dump altogether.
That would be the trimmers. Do we need to vote on this?
We do at some point need to adopt the schedule of fees, but we don't have to do it tonight if we wanna talk about it more or whatnot. Basically, this is establishing a minimum. If someone wants to take at least 100 loads of this stuff, we will figure out a way to get it to them when we have time, is what that's saying, so. You all can think about it, we can go ahead and adopt it. All it takes to change it is a simple majority vote, so it's not a huge ordeal.
I make a motion to accept, excuse me, I make a motion to accept the updated schedule fees.
There a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. Also, the opportunity to interest earnings for the city is increasing, so Jessica, you want to fill us in on the changes?
Yeah, we already have Capstar listed as a depository that you all have approved. We usually reapprove those every time there's an election. Every July following that election, we reapprove the places that we're allowed to deposit city funds. Capstar Bank is one of them that's already pre-approved. We do have a significant amount of money with Capstar Bank, but they are part of the state collateral pool, which means that they have collateral pledge over and above what the FDIC limit is. So that's to answer the first question. We're not capped by that FDIC limit because we have, our investments are all with banks that are either with the state of Tennessee as a part of the state of Tennessee as an investment account, or they're through the state collateral pool, which means that that's all collateralized on top of what the FDIC insurance would cover. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, we didn't have to necessarily get permission to move this money or put it into a certificate of deposit because Capstar has already been approved. But they were offering a 10-month CD. I think we put $250,000 into a 10-month CD that was gonna pay 4.5% interest, which was significant. So, and that's not a very long time, and that's not enough that it's gonna affect our liquidity at all. Everything that I have in the LGIP investment account, I can transfer to the city within 24 hours, so I don't think we're ever gonna get in a position where we miss that $250,000 or need it in the next 10 months.
Can
But
we put any more than that?
we can, and in fact, today I transferred 400,000 back to the investment account, because our bank account had gotten, like our checking account doesn't pay any interest. So the trick is to try and keep as little in the checking account as I can and earn. It hasn't mattered for years, y'all. I haven't had to worry about this for about 8 years now. So I'm glad that we are earning some interest now, even with the pain that causes in other areas. But me and Sonia are gonna have to just stay on top of it a little bit more. So basically, I just wanted to tell you, we did invest this in a certificate of deposit. We put another 400,000 back in LGIP, but we do that a lot. We'll move that money back and forth from LGIP, constantly. LGIP is also paying 4.5% this month, and then we have an investment account with Capstar that for the month of March, they were paying 4.5%. So we are finally making some decent interest. So we're gonna have to pay a little bit better attention. And I guess I'm just telling you that I've done this, that I've moved this to a certificate. We have the same signatories on it that we do all of our other accounts, which is the mayor, myself, Sonia, and Haley. So it still takes 2 signatures to move it, withdraw it, whatever, just like all of our other accounts do. But we'll be moving that money a little more often out of checking right now. Since we don't make any interest on the checking account, we won't be holding as much cash in there. We'll be trying to earn something off it. So if y'all want to take a vote on it to approve it, you're more than welcome to. It's not required since we already have it with the bank, but it might make me feel better if you all approve the money that I make.
Your motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carried. Thank you, Jessica. We have ordinance number 1019 for first reading. John, you want to update us on this ordinance?
We discussed this at the workshop. You may recall these are some
lots next to the swamp down behind the offices along the west side of South Main. The county is willing to give that to the city. I've drafted, they got a resolution either, not when they just did, I guess, approved it. And the county mayor has a deed that I prepared, and the only requirement that the county had was that if it should be transferred sometime in the future to a for-profit corporation or an individual, that, obviously for money, that they would get the same, that the proceeds would be shared the same as it would right now, based on the percentages of the taxes at the time the county acquired the property in the tax sale, which is roughly 2 to 1. Their taxes are about twice what ours are, so they would get about 2/3 of whatever. But I don't really anticipate that we'll ever have the opportunity to sell it, much less that we would want to. So that's what that's about. The charter requires that we pass an ordinance that we accept property by ordinance. That's why it's in here.
All right, thank you, John. Do I hear a motion to accept ordinance number 1019?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Any questions? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Mosier,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Stutz.
Thank you. The proposed budget is at your seat. We have this on for further discussion in the April workshop. We'll go over it. There could be a change or two between now and then, but we ask you to review it. Feel free to ask any questions. Are there any tonight? Anybody got any questions tonight? Okay. So look that over. The revenue line does not include any increase in property tax rates or garbage rates. This proposal does include the full Social Security cost of living, which is 8.9, 8.7, that our city employees will be getting a raise in August in the new budget. You know, last year we give 8.2.
5.9 was last year's cost of living.
So that's almost, that's a good rate for the city employees. The city commissioner, mayor, are we included in that?
Sorry.
Okay. So anyway, as that's the good part about it. When we have money and we've got a lot of good things going for us, we can give it to our employees. It's hard to get good employees anymore, I'm gonna tell you that right now. And I'm like what Buster said last year, you've got to take care of your employees or somebody else will. So that's good. The proposal, this proposal does include the full Social Security cost of living for all regular employees. The capital project we have discussed and the funding requested by the Board of Education and the library. Do we know how much that is, top of our head?
Yeah, that's about 25,000 more for the education appropriation and about 9,000 more for the library. And I say this every time, and it's in the cover letter there. We have maintenance of effort with those two organizations. So we're never allowed to decrease what we give them. And the state has a formula that they're gonna use based on our local tax base, local support, that a certain percentage has to go to the schools, the city school system, and the library. So that is our estimate on what we think the minimum is that we're allowed to increase it, so.
We do not yet have all figures from the outside sources, including health insurance rates, which will come in May. Though it's possibility changes may be needed before the final reading. Has he give us any indication?
Not yet. Last year, we had a 0% increase. We had a flat renewal. As long as we promised not to market, they did not increase it at all. I've budgeted it the same way again this year. I have no idea what will actually happen, so we'll see. Our claims history has been better these last couple of years, so I'm hoping that maybe we have a chance at it remaining the same. But this budget is balanced, and in fact, we're putting we're putting a small percentage back into general fund based on this budget, so that gives us a little bit of wiggle room that even if health insurance increases a little bit, we may still remain balanced without having to change anything else. So as soon as I get those figures in May, I'll incorporate them in and get it back out to you all.
There is a cover letter which highlights and a budget calendar in your copy. Anybody have a question? If you had a chance to look it over, if not, well, we can get it later. Budget ordinance number 1020 for the fiscal year July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and a tax levy for discussion. We have ordinance number 1021 to correct the numbering of prior ordinances on first reading. We talked about this in the workshop to get all of our ordinance in line and get them recorded. Is that right? Am I right on that? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? Everybody understand it? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Hughes? Commissioner Mosier?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Stats?
Aye.
We have some upcoming dates for your calendar. Next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, at First Methodist Church, a meal will be provided for the City Hall, Planning, and the Mayor and Board at 12:30. It's very nice of the United Methodist Church. I won't be able to be there, but I'd love to be. Train car ribbon cutting May 5th at 2 o'clock. That's when it's going to be done.
The grant ends next Friday. So David and Joe and JR and everybody that, Spectrum Electric, all these people they're tying it up. So the train car is going to be reopened so people can go through it and tour it and watch videos about Sweetwater. And Sonia and Haley are working really hard about getting it furnished inside. We've got everything ordered. So we have to have it all in by next Friday. So we hope that we'll be able to have a grand opening on May 5th. So, and the state tourism people are going to be coming in for that day, which is a great day for them to be here because it's also our Blues and Bluegrass Festival.
May the 5th and 6th, Bluegrass, Blooms, and Barbecue Festival. That's always big and always a lot of fun, and people enjoy that. There'll be people here from everywhere. Jessica, you just got back from Boston. Just give us a report on the Main Street meeting that you went to.
So we went to the National Main Street Conference. Haley and I got to speak at the conference about preparing your community for an eclipse. We submitted a proposal and were selected, and they teamed us up with two other people, two much smarter people. Ben was from MIT, from the MIT Museum, and Yvette runs a nonprofit for Science Festival funding, and she has already offered us project funding for something we may want to do in the future, so that has already paid off. We also have had two communities, one in Indiana and one in New York, ask us to come and speak to their organizations about planning in person. One of their members was there at the conference, and then they've asked us to come talk to that other group, so I'm going to be talking to Sam. He's the tourism commissioner over that later after this meeting. It was a really good conference. Josh Isaac, our new Main Street director, that was his first Main Street conference. Haley has been the interim Main Street director for the last 2 years, but this is the first time she was able to attend one of the Main Street conferences. And then I went, and also one of our board members, Heather Carroll. So if it's good with the board, I'd like to put Heather on a future agenda just so she can kind of tell you as a private business owner what that Main Street conference meant to her. She owns Remedies Inn, and her husband owns Carroll's Firearms downtown. So they have two very different businesses. Heather did one particular class on upper floors and how to make those vacancies more viable. So I know she's gonna share part of that with you all, so I hope you look forward to that. All four of us went to different classes, so we could get as many things in as we could while we were there. First of all, the city of Boston is awesome. I had never been, and it was amazing and clean, and people were so friendly. I was expecting them to be total jerks to us when they heard our southern accent, and they were so nice. They kept asking us if we needed help on the subway, and I loved the subway. It was amazing. It was clean. It was great. It was a great experience. We got to see a lot of things, networked with a lot of people. The Tennessee State Main Street Director attended our session and was very complimentary afterwards. And then the National Main Street Director for Programming sat in on our session. So that was a great contact. She gave us our card afterwards and asked if we would help some other communities. So that eclipse, by the way, comes through other parts of the United States in April of 2024. So we don't get a total eclipse here in Sweetwater again. I think it's like decades before we will all be dead by the time we get another total eclipse here. But a lot of these, there's 31 million people in the path of totality next year. So their communities are all hopefully benefiting from what we know.
Where's it gonna be next year?
The Main Street Conference, Birmingham, Alabama. You gonna go again?
Why?
The mayor went with us to New Orleans to the first Main Street Conference, and Jim, you went to a Main Street training, but I don't know if it's Main Street's conference or. Okay. Well, I will tell you, I have to go to a lot of finance conferences to do my continuing education for my certification for the city. They are very boring. They drink a lot afterwards, but they are very boring conferences. The Main Street Conference is not boring. We come home every time with new ideas about things we can do. And the good thing about the Main Street Network is they want you to steal their ideas. Like, it's very collaborative. They're like, hey, I'm doing this in Kansas. Like, I attended a class in Kansas with a community in Kansas, not a lot bigger than ours. They have a fab lab, a fabrication lab that they started in their downtown. So like a business owner might want to do some kind of specialty product to have just for a festival or something, or to sell one time a year. And it might cost them $5,000 to get that fabrication done and to order enough quantity that they could sell it. Well, they created this own fab lab and they staffed it with grant funding, and they bought equipment with grant funding for a 3D printer and a mold maker and a metal machine, and they use all that stuff, and it's right in the middle of their downtown, so that business owner only wants to order 100 of something. They can do that for $60 instead of having to do a $100,000 order or a $10,000 order. So that kind of innovation and stuff is not what you expect from somebody who's just about small businesses, but it's really an amazing conference. It's some of the brightest minds that I get to be around. Obviously, the guy from MIT was sitting beside me, and I was like, hi. So it's a really great conference. I'm very excited, as you can tell.
George, did Donald Trump come by see you?
He did not. Is he a big Boston guy?
Boston.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody? We're clear? We're adjourned. Thank you.